Hey folks, welcome to another Georgia Canine National Training Center training video. This video is going to be with our Georgia Canine kennel dog, Hannya, who now is working for Camden County Sheriff's Department. The handler, Matt, is working on his tactical proximity alert training with a single cover man. The purpose of the training is to teach not only the dog and the handler how to work a good felony track safely, but also, more importantly, for the cover man to be able to cover the handler and try to keep that handler safe from beginning to the end of the track. In this video, the dog literally works from the beginning to the end. There really isn't any point where the dog's not on trail and working quite nicely. You're going to see a lot of subtle changes when it comes to some contact odor, actual trail odor, and then more importantly some backtrack odor. We don't get to see this in some of our videos really often, so I'll try to describe those things as they occur. But when you're watching a trailing dog work, one of the things that's most important to look for is overall body language. It's not just one thing. When I'm looking for a trailing dog working, I'm looking at tail set, consistent tail set, something that doesn't change too much, like this tail right here, which is almost full mast, arched, tip flying high. Head down, nose to the ground. This is a good indicator that the dog's working good ground odor. This is important because trailing is a big part of ground odor. You're also going to see some good air scent and proximity scent alerts. I'm going to try to show you each and every one of those things as we go along. The point of the video and the point of the training is really the proximity alert and how the handler reacts to it for officer safety purposes, but there's a lot of other good learning things as we go along. I'm going to try to pick out each one of those and then perhaps even slow them down a little bit so you can see them in a little better light. This is the first phase of the video that's kind of interesting. You're going to see a body language change and a subsequent slowing of the handler when the body language of the dog changes. So the handler's expecting something, he just doesn't know what it is. The slowness causes the handler to think he might be suspect close. But watch what we have here. You're going to see a big change, and at high speed it doesn't look like a big change. However, we're going to slow it again down so you can see it at a little lower pace. The next section of the video is going to be reduced speed by about 50%, so I'll try to explain what I'm seeing a little bit better. Okay, notice right here the dog's head starts to go up and that tail drops a little bit. More importantly, the dog slows down and is looking left and looking right. Okay, this is hesitancy. Something's concerning the dog. We don't know what. More than likely, it's some sort of animal distraction she hasn't probably encountered before. I don't think this is human related. The nice thing is she gives it up and goes right back to trailing. Look at the tail set change in the head. Okay, up until this point we've had some pretty consistent body language, perhaps one critter that we came across, but now things begin to change. Watch the focus of the dog get a little stronger. We're not moving at the exact same speed, we seem to be a little faster. She's anticipating something. This is usually indicating a turn. The apex of the turn will always hold a little bit more odor, either on the inside or the outside. That's what got that little flurry of activity, that little exceptional speed. You're going to see it in slow motion right here. She digs in. She indicates with a little bit of body language that something's to the left, but she hits the hard turn coming up right here. This is right on the footsteps of the track. What I like about this is that the dog didn't overshoot the turn in any way, shape, or form, and this is because the handler's not running. No matter what you do, you can't go as fast as the dog does, so the best thing to do is go at a pace that's manageable. This, in all actuality, makes the dog hit your turns a little bit better and make them a little bit more accurate. Now this next phase in the trail is going to be really interesting. We're going to see a little bit of change of behavior that's more than just a turn. Something happened right here. Watch how the dog does a double take. Circles a little bit and then picks up the trail here in the woods. This is more than just a simple turn. Something happened here. My guess is that the trail layer was trying to decide to do something at this location. Watch it in slow motion. Good tail set, good nose down, good change of direction, but still everything is staying pretty consistent. This is saying that the dog is good odor. This is working very well. Don't hurry the dog, don't push the dog. More importantly, do not think that this dog is in distraction. This dog's just trying to figure out what happened here. It's more than a simple turn. As the dog gets into the thicker brush, taller leaves and taller bushes, you're going to notice the intensity change a little bit. The speed's going to increase. The dog's going to have just a general higher level of interest. This is because now you have contact odor on the leaves and on the bushes. So you don't want to necessarily mistake this as a proximity alert, but you still have to be very careful. The handler's getting a little bit excited about this change in intensity because I think he's thinking he might have a proximity alert and might be getting close. The dog definitely is more intense, but we're not seeing a lot of behavior changes that's saying it's catching anything on the wind yet.
See something? Cover up on this tree. Cover up on this tree. There you go. Come on. No. Cover up. Come on, baby. Come on, girl. Cover. Hold up. I'm going to try a call out.
Even though I think the handler miscalled the proximity alert, I think what he's doing is very safe and the appropriate thing to do if you're ever getting a little concerned about proximity. He slows down, he takes cover, he gives the dog a chance to give some semblance of direction, and then he makes an announcement. The only other thing I might want to consider is start thinking about maybe having some containment and perhaps a mobile perimeter in this situation. When he gets no response and he doesn't see any more body language from the dog saying it's close, he goes ahead and makes the right decision and redeploys and gets the dog back on trail. What's really cool about this is Hannya, even though 10 months old, she's been stopped on that trail. She goes right back to work. This is also a good indication that it's probably trail and not necessarily proximity alert. She starts bouncing around a little bit here. She's a little bit more excited than she was before, but this excitement's related to the announcement, not necessarily related to proximity scent.
Hold on. Might be simple. Really, girl?
Okay, this next thing to catch is going to be super important. You're going to see a big change in body language coming up right now. The dog detects something. The body language changes, but not completely. We don't have a complete animal tail set change. We have a drop, but it's not huge. The handler corrects because he doesn't like what he sees, and I agree with this. But it's going to be interesting to see what exactly this is. The dog picks up the trail again and goes back to work. Now, watch this in slow motion. The dog head pops hard to the left. The head starts panning left and right, and then the head stops and hovers over one particular thing without the dog moving. The tail set is low but still arched in almost a trailing behavior. So more than likely this is a human distraction. We just don't know what it is yet. You'll see here in just a few minutes.
What is that?
What the dog detected was buried toilet paper and human feces. And this is an anomaly. It stands out here in the middle of the woods where up until now the only thing the dog had found was our subject human trail. It's hard for dogs to ignore stuff like this, and that's why she went to it. Does she need to be corrected? Yes, and it's obviously that she goes back to work right here. Takes a little bit, but she finds the trail nicely. This area here is probably relative to a small scent pool of the subject. He either circled or was thinking about going right or left. It also might include a backtrack where he went one direction and then turned around and came back. You always have to keep in mind that the dog's body language when working, and if truly on scent, is a mirror image of what the subject did. It may not be exactly in human terms, but in dog body language as it reacts to scent, it's an image. This is another scent pool area. The dog's circling, picking up contact odor on the bushes, but also odor in the general vicinity. It's more than just a trail of somebody walking through. It's a trail of somebody who's done something here, thought about doing something here, perhaps circled around, was even thinking about putting the ambush here. But this is a very, very interesting spot. If this were me working a real case, I'd mark this location and want to come back to it later if I didn't find anything.
Get to work. Get to work.
Here the handler's telling the dog to get to work. I think this is a little bit of impatient speaking. And normally when my dog's working a scent pool like this, I'm very, very patient. I take my time, and as long as they're working it really, really well, I let them have it as long as they want it. This part coming up here is really important. This is the first real proximity alert. Notice how the dog's head came up, looked left, and is getting air scent right here. The handler calls this really nicely. Look at the head. The ears focus in one direction. The dog turns to the left, and you'll notice that nose go up into the wind a little bit. The dog's getting odor on the wind. You're starting to get close. This is a proximity alert.
Come here, buddy. Come here. This is the Camden County Sheriff's Office. Show yourself, I'll release a K9. It's the Camden County Sheriff's Office. Show yourself, I will release a K9. Nothing still. All right, come on. Get to work. Get to work.
I'm replaying this in slow motion because I think what happened here is that the handler got again a little bit impatient, probably because of the first proximity alert he called and he didn't get a response. Now he's hurrying a little bit faster and he almost immediately makes a call out. One of the things I think is the most important thing to do when the dog does give a real proximity alert is that you give the dog a moment. Watch that head and watch that nose. If you're really, really careful and if you're really, really observant, you're going to see that dog detect exactly what it wants from a distance. And if you line up the tail with the ears, it's almost like a reverse gun sight pointing in the direction of the person that we're looking for. The dog doesn't do this here, and it's because we're just starting to get the fresh pieces of wind that the dog's getting close. I think we need to make the call out. More importantly, I think it's time to get a perimeter set up. I would call for a mobile perimeter unit to get set up in a distance of at least a quarter mile behind the area where we think the subject might be. One of the things that concerns me a little bit here is that the dog knows she's getting closer and she's getting bits and pieces of air scent on the wind. We don't have a scent cone, but there is a little bit of fresh air. That's why the dog's head's up more now than it ever has been before. She knows she's starting to get close. She just hasn't determined the direction of travel. More importantly, the direction of travel as it relates to that air scent that's in the air that she's detecting. Right now we need to be slow. We need to be patient and take our time. This dog's throwing some really heavy clues right here that there's fresh scent on the wind. We have some changes taking place here. We've got a conflict of some fresh odor on the wind without a scent cone, and then we also have good ground trailing odor. Obviously the air scent dissipates right here and goes back to some good trail odor, so that's what the dog begins to follow through the tall brush. This is the most important body language of all, and it's also the final proximity alert. The dog knows it's close. It hasn't detected exactly where the scent cone is or exactly where the person is based on air scent, but look at this reaction to scent swirling from the left. Then the dog goes back to the trail. We're going to see it in slow motion again. This is going to be down to about 50% of the original speed, and I'm going to try to point out the most important parts as we go along. So far we've been pretty much in a heads-up mode, getting scent on the wind, but here we got a good head pop to the left, that swirling fresh odor coming from the left, and the handler even detects it a little bit because he's watching where the dog's looking. He doesn't quite know what's going on, but he knows something is happening here because he's watching the dog really closely. She's very, very conflicted between the swirling fresh scent and then also where the trail might be. This is the final alert and the last place that you actually might be able to stay safe. Proximity alerts and handler reaction oftentimes are in conflict because the proximity alerts comes in a series. Sometimes there's 1 to 2 to 3, but many times there's a bunch of them, anywhere from 8 to 10 in a row at varying distances. We've had proximity alerts from over a mile away in big open areas. What happens when the handler stops so many times on these proximity alerts, they start getting impatient because they didn't see or they didn't get the response that they expected. So the next proximity alert they perhaps ignore a little bit, oftentimes, and it can be to their own danger.
Contact right, contact right.
This is the view from the shooter, looking down the barrel of his gun at the dog team just wandering right into him. Don't let this be you. If you work felony tracks, if you hunt felony suspects with a trailing or tracking dog, you're at risk if you don't learn how to read proximity alerts. Proximity alerts not only can help you catch your suspect, more importantly, they'll save your life one day. For you search and rescue handlers out there who think proximity alerts have nothing to do with you, this may be the last alert you ever have. Perhaps the person that you're looking for isn't just a missing person, but somebody who doesn't want to be found, and anybody who comes close might be their next victim. More importantly, you can see by the body language that the dog's starting to catch air scent on the wind on these proximity alerts. If you don't know where your trail was and the dog gets off scent or off trail due to wind-blown odor, and you can't get back to it, you may not be able to complete your trail. Proximity alerts matter for everybody. It doesn't matter what handler you are or where you work. This is something that you need to learn. It may be the difference between finding who you're looking for or perhaps saving your life.